All right, welcome guys to our session on transforming customer support. Make sure you guys can hear us. So if I can get in the chat, just a thumbs up or a yes, you guys can hear us, as well as where you're from. All right, I see one thumbs up, a couple thumbs up, so great. Awesome, you guys can hear us. So we'll go ahead and get started. I know we're nearing the end of a fabulous 3 days of sessions. I hope everyone's enjoyed it. I hope everyone's learned something new, and hopefully you guys will enjoy this session as well. So a little bit about myself before we jump in. My name is Matt Lacy. I'm based in Charleston, South Carolina. I've spent my entire career in customer support. I actually just celebrated my 19th anniversary here at Blackbaud. I started out as an agent supporting the Razor's Edge, also supported the Education Edge, which we've since sunset, and also moved on and supported Blackbaud CRM when it was released. From there, I kind of moved into the management side of the support. I managed several teams with support, but I really missed the ability of troubleshooting and working with technology to solve issues. So since moved back into a role, really focusing on our innovation and how we leverage technology and automation to provide the best support experience. I'm also joined today by our moderator for today's session, Lexi. She's one of our customer success managers in the arts and culture vertical, and she's going to help me out with the Q&A as they come in and with the roundtable towards the end as well. So with that, we'll jump in here. So we have a relatively short agenda today. We're going to cover a few things before we open it up to a conversation, as I mentioned a moment ago. So I'm going to start by giving a summary of what is the digital transformation that we're on. What we've done with generative AI to support the transformation, including some tips for interacting with AI, how knowledge management is the key to a successful digital transformation, what's coming next from us in that transformation, and then finally that roundtable where I'm going to open it up and see what you all would like to see from support, whether that be in person support or whether that's self-service tools. So with that, we'll move on and actually talk about what does transformation in customer support look like in this digital age. In short, it's really just the integration of using automation and generative AI technologies alongside human expertise. That human expertise is key. Even though it's a digital transformation, you can't have something without having some type of human interaction still. So that human expertise to accomplish your tasks with ease and allowing you to interact with our support team when needed and get back to your jobs as efficiently as possible. It's really about driving towards the future where customer support is proactive and personalized. So providing that personalized support is really fusing the artificial intelligence that we have along with data analytics that we already know, such as your usage data. So what features within the solution are you using or how often you're using that data, along with what your goals and outcomes are of using our solutions and where you are in the life cycle of your solution. So are you new to Blackbaud and you just purchased the solution, or maybe you've been using this solution for 10 years and you're a power user? All that information, if we can leverage that, that can help us provide that personalized support that's tailored just for you. So as an example, let's say one of your organizational goals or outcomes with using our solution is to increase your sustained giving. If we're able to leverage those goals and we know that's one of your goals, then we can provide personalized information on how you can achieve that goal when you're interacting with our digital channels or interacting with one of our support agents. So if you contact us and you have an issue with something, instead of just giving you an answer to solve that question, we could give you the answer to solve that question and explain how that solution or using that feature that you're contacting us about, how that's also going to help you increase your sustained giving. Another example is, let's say you're a new user. You've never logged into the solution before, or you're accessing an area of the solution for the first time. Using that usage analytics I mentioned, if we know that it's your first time or you're brand new, we can tailor that response to give you additional information, such as training resources or best practices, and do that proactively without you having to come to us asking for that. So the digital transformation It's not just about keeping pace with the industry. We really want to set the standard for what support should look like in the industry itself. So that sounds great, but how does that actually help you and reduce your efforts? Well, these tools, they're going to allow you to find solutions, whether that's through those self-service portals that we have. Some of those self-service portals may not even be available yet. We still may be working on them. Or intuitive user faces, making it easier to ask questions. Or our robust knowledge base. All of that can help improve the service speeds while allowing our support agents to still be available for those tougher and complex issues. Allowing them to be available for those tougher, complex issues also gives them more time for testing and researching them to drive those to resolution quicker. Our first step in this journey was the implementation of generative AI within our virtual assistant, also referred to as chatbot. So you may hear me say virtual assistant or chatbot. They're independent, they're interchangeable. Which was introduced to help answer those routine questions. Currently, we have that available for the products of Razor's Edge and Razor's Edge NXT, Financial Edge and Financial Edge NXT, and then our Blackbaud education management solution. But we've also added generative AI to our knowledge base, which covers all of our products, and that helps you get questions faster without needing to sift through multiple articles. So if we take a look at our next slide, I'm actually going to talk about the AI a little bit in action. So we'll take a quick peek here at knowledge base. So as you can see on the left here, I have a screenshot of knowledge base. And previously, before we introduced Gen AI, you would have to type in your question and it's going to return a list of articles for you. You may have to click on 3 or 4 articles. You may have to scroll down to maybe the second page to find what you're looking for. With the generative AI implementation, you now type in your question, select your product, and it's going to generate an answer for you at the top. So you can see here in this case, we're looking for how to find people who attended an event. And our product is Razor's Edge. So based off that, it's going to look through all the information we have indexed, and it's going to generate an answer here of create a constituent query, step-by-step directions on how to actually create that query. We still want you to know where we pulled this information from, so we still provide our sources. So underneath that generative answer, you see a learn more section, and there's 2 links. That's the actual articles within knowledge base that this information was pulled from. So if you want to view that information, you still have the ability to click on it, view the full article, save that article if you need to for the future, print it, whatever you may need. If you still prefer that previous method of sifting through multiple articles, we still provide a list of articles. So underneath that generative answer, you can see it says 1 through 10 of 545 results. So we have 545 knowledge articles that somewhat meet the needs of finding people who attended an event. So that question I asked, you can scroll through there and still click on those articles individually if you would like. Similarly, in our virtual assistant, if you type in a question, it's going to search the information with knowledge base and generate an answer along with the sources as well. So in that screenshot on the right-hand side, that's our virtual assistant or our chatbot. In this case, the question was asked, how do I adjust 1099 amounts? You can see the virtual assistant said it needed just a moment while I looked through the information and then provided step-by-step instructions on how to actually adjust those 1099 amounts. This is a huge improvement from our original implementation that we did in just last year when we introduced virtual assistants. Previously, it just provided 6 knowledge articles. You would have to click on an article, it opened in a new tab, you reviewed it. If it didn't give you what you needed, you go back to the virtual assistant, click on another link, and it was a back and forth method. Sometimes if none of those would work, you then ended up getting to the option to transfer to an agent. So a huge step in the right direction. However, with any good virtual assistant, even though we have generative AI, if it's unable to resolve the issue, we have the ability for you to transfer the chat to a support agent who's going to be able to assist that chat and drive it to resolution for you. So as I mentioned in the beginning, human expertise is always needed in a digital strategy. So we still have that human interaction needed if it's needed. As we work with AI though, there's best practices of how you can get the most out of using AI. So we're going to share some of these. A lot of these tips won't just apply to using our generative AI. Some of these tips will be are generic to using AI in any application that you may find it in. The first one is being direct but specific. Let's say you're working on something and you're trying to create a query of people who've given over a certain amount of money per year. Well, if I come into the knowledge base or to the virtual assistant and I type in query help, I'm likely going to get some results. However, they're going to be very generic and not likely going to tell me how do I complete that task of querying on people who've given over a certain amount. So if I change that to say, okay, well, my goal is I need to query on people who've given a total amount. If I type in how to query on total amount, so if you're trying to perform a task, start with how to, and then insert the perform task you're trying to do, enter that search, you're likely going to get the results of how to do that specific task that you need to complete. Similarly, if you are troubleshooting an error message, and maybe you don't have a how-to question, you have an issue going on and you're getting an error message, provide the full error message into the knowledge base or into the virtual assistant. That's going to help tremendously, since sometimes error messages may occur in multiple areas of the software and they could be very similar. If you're only including the first few words, you may get results for an error message that's close to what you're getting, but for using in another portion of the software. So be direct, but be specific. Next up is don't include the name of the solution in your search. You've already selected the solution or the product you're working with when you're searching KB, or if you're using a virtual assistant, you've already selected it before you started the chat with the virtual assistant. So we know that information, we're already filtering out. It's not gonna prevent the results from being shown. It's just one more step that isn't needed. Next up is don't ask multiple questions. At the same time, only ask one at a time. You may have multiple questions, and that's totally understandable, and we can help you with all those questions. However, let's say that using that example from earlier, you're trying to query on total gift amount, because once you find those people, you want to create a mailing for them. If you type in that whole question of how do I create a query of people who've given over $1,000 so I can mail to them, you may get results that aren't going to give you the full step-by-step. So break it out into each question you have. How do I create the query? Once you have that information, then how do I create a mailing? Then you can get the steps for that. So that's really going to help you focus and get the best possible results. Next up is rephrase and be patient. As you guys know, AI is changing daily. We have machine learning with our AI, so it's learning based off of what everybody is searching for and typing in. But if you don't get what you need the first time, rephrase it and see if it helps. So maybe I don't get anything on how to query on total gift amount, but if I rephrase that how to query on cumulative giving, then maybe I get something. A real life example of this, and this just happened a couple weeks ago, was we had somebody doing some searches and they were including the word trustees, plural, with an S on the end. And they weren't getting exactly what they were looking for. So they removed the S and just searched on trustee, and they got what they wanted. So as we were investigating that issue and like, well, why wasn't it returning the results we wanted? So we were going and we started searching with trustees, plural again, and then the results were showing up because the machine learning had learned, wait, I've seen people coming in here searching for trustees with an S. I need to add that to my model automatically, so in the future, it can pick that up. So as it's learning, it's going to automatically do that, but be patient and you may have to rephrase while it continues to learn. And finally, share feedback. Feedback is a gift. We love the feedback, but for AI, feedback is huge. Within the knowledge article, that generated answer, it's going to give you there's a thumbs up and thumbs down in the upper right corner. Select that information. All that information is logged to us. We can see what searches had a thumbs up, what searches had a thumbs down, what searches maybe didn't get anything generated. All that information plays into our knowledge management strategy, which I'll talk about in just a moment. Additionally, in the virtual assistants, instead of a thumbs up or thumbs down, you're going to get a yes, no prompt. It works the same way though. Selecting that yes, no prompt logs that information for us so we can see what information, what searches or what information you typed in resulted in positive or negative feedback that we can go in and tailor. Excuse me. So moving on, we've talked about kind of high level what the digital strategy is, the AI implementation that we've done so far. But if we want to talk about what starts and what makes a good digital strategy outside of that human expertise, it's the good content. You can have the best technology in the world. If the content behind it isn't great, it's not going to be successful. So we have a knowledge management process. And to ensure that our content's accurate, it's relevant, we use a recognized industry standard known as Knowledge Centered Services, or KCS. And that methodology, what it does is it makes sure that our content is, when we create it, or it's validated by other people. So if I create an article, somebody else has to help validate that article. So you don't just, if I'm a new agent who's coming to the floor, and I just might, I've been on the floor for a couple months and I'm creating an article, I'm not going to have the ability just to go and publish that article. Somebody who has more tenure, who is going to be able to review that article, make recommendations if needed, and update that article before it's published. It's also improved upon with each support interaction. So what I mean by that is, if you call in on a question and let's say our agent takes in that question, we find an article that answers that question, but the way you ask that question is a little bit differently than how we have it phrased. We call that customer voice. We will go in and actually edit that article to include that updated customer voice. So in the future, should somebody else ask that question with the same way, it will then they'll then be able to find it on their own. So doing that just helps us ensure we have accurate and relevant information. Again, with this strategic investment, knowledge base is going to continue to evolve. Right now, you guys know we have our product documentation in there. We have knowledge articles, but we want to add more content to that. Maybe it's product training information. Maybe it's white papers or industry best standards. The more information we can put within knowledge base, not only does it help generative AI, but it helps you guys only have one spot to go when you're looking for information. Nobody wants to have to go to here to look for this type of information, or then go to here to look for this type of information, and go to the community if you're looking for idea suggestions. The more information we can have in one spot, the easier it is for everybody to use. And then finally, I mentioned the feedback a moment ago. Excuse me. Our knowledge management team and our process, we listen to that feedback. So as that feedback is logged, we have an entire team who's focused on looking at that feedback, analyzing the trends of that feedback, and going in and either updating it or providing information to the teams the agents who need to go in and update that information. So that just allows us to strengthen the article quality and that topic searchability. But that's a lot of information, but that's really just scratching the surface of our digital transformation. And while we've made some achievements already, there's a lot more on the horizon to make sure this is successful. So first off, is improving and optimizing those Gen AI technologies. As I mentioned, AI is changing almost daily. So we want to continue to leverage this technology to allow us to serve you. So taking those goals and outcomes that I mentioned, or where you are in the journey of your solution, taking that, incorporating that into our Gen AI solutions so we can make those personalized recommendations. We are in discovery on doing some of that work now. So that information should be coming in sometime in the future. Next up is continuing to expand our virtual assistants to other products. I mentioned earlier the products we have it available for. We are adding it to additional products. So by the end of this year, you'll see it on some more products. That will carry over into 2025. We will continue to add it to additional products. And as we add it, if there's new AI technology available, those products will automatically have that new technology implemented as well. I mentioned continuing to expand the information that's sourced in knowledge base in our search experience. So adding in those white papers or that training content. So it's really your one-stop spot to go. And what I'm most passionate about is incorporating all this information into the product directly. That way, when you're working in the product, if you need help, you don't have to leave the product and go somewhere else to get help. It's in product experience. Everything you need is right there at your fingertips. That way you can continue working, being productive, and still get assistance if you need. That's the end goal right there. That's what we want, is once we have everything, moving it all within the product for you. All right. So I've shared a lot of information around the innovation, what we have on the horizon, but we want to connect and share this information with you all. So to do so, we're creating a monthly blog series on the Blackbaud community. And these blogs are going to delve into our vision, which I've outlined. It's going to go over the ongoing evolution of our services and hopefully help foster a dialogue with you. Like I mentioned, the feedback is a gift. So while you can provide feedback on individual articles or individual chats and solutions there, we want feedback as a whole. So we want these monthly blogs will allow you to provide feedback in another channel as well. So if you haven't already joined the community, you can visit community.blackbaud.com. You can log in using your BBID, and all of the posts that we will make will be listed in the community news area. If you go out there now, you'll see 3 blogs that have already been posted over the last couple months. One of them is outlining the transformation as a whole. That was posted by our VP, Miguel Alfarero. And then there'll be 2 additional blogs on the implementation of generative AI that we've made. And we have a 4th blog coming in the very near future. I believe it may be next week. Don't quote me on that. If it's not next week, it'll be the following week on our knowledge management process, where there will be more information shared around that. So a lot of information we've shared, but we want to hear from you now about what we can do or what you want to see from us. So we're going to open up the floor, so you can use the Q&A section. You can post your questions, and as they come in, we can have a open dialogue. So don't see any questions yet. Lexi, make sure I'm not missing anything. Do you see anything coming in from your
I do
side?
not see any messages in the chat yet. So if you guys have anything, please chime in and let us know so we can help you with that.
Haley or Hallie, I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing it correctly, but thank you. I'm happy to hear that you're impressed. Hopefully we can continue to impress you with your experience and make it even easier for you. So great to hear that. Great question. Will the slides be posted after the? I believe it's within 24 hours. The recording of this meeting that will have the slides in it will be available. So when you log back into the BB Dev Days website, all the recordings will be available from there, and you'll be able to access it. And you can have the slides available there.
We will also be launching a survey at the end of this session, so please include your feedback in there as well.
Absolutely. As I mentioned, feedback's a gift. We love getting feedback, so we'll solicit it in multiple ways.
All right. I think if we don't have any questions, I will go ahead and launch that survey now. So going once, going twice.
Looks like we had one question come in here. Looks like, will the generative AI for customer support lead to less support caseworkers, particularly for less used products like AllTrue? Absolutely not. That is not what we're trying to achieve. Implementing this technology, even though this should result in less cases coming to support, those agents, we want them to focus on those harder cases and then continue to contribute that knowledge that they have. So that's creating more content. So while they may not be taking incoming calls, they can be creating new content that the AI can consume. So we will not be reducing the number of agents per product. Right. Any other questions? We will give it a countdown here. Going once, going twice. All right. Well, if anything does come up, let's see. We had one question come in the chat here. Is there any chance? Oh, let me see. Looks like we have a couple coming in now. Is there any chance of an X button to close the find answers to questions about Blackbaud solutions being implemented? Christopher, I believe you are referring to, yep, there you go, in the knowledge base. So in the knowledge base, when you first visit it, you have a modal that launches that asks you to type in your question or to type in and select your product. I can say there hasn't been anything on the roadmap for putting an X there. I can definitely take that note down and add to that. I will say though, I see you mentioned searching by article number. you should be able to type in an article number if you know it into that search and select the product, and it should pull that article number up. I know we just resolved one issue around that. Actually, I think it was last week, so that should be resolved now. But I'll do research on that and just test that out, and also make that suggestion on adding an X for a future release. I think I saw one other question come in here. Does the case log record record the chatbot interaction? Not 100% following, but if you interact with the virtual assistant, if that is logged over and transferred to an agent, the agent does have the ability to see that full interaction you had with the virtual assistant, and that information also should be available on the case. So if you review the case, you should be able to see that case on Case Central as well.
And it looks like we had one more question come through from Jerome, and that's, does the virtual assistant's AI have the ability to both remember context and log sources from an initial question to the follow-up question?
Currently, that's not available. So if you ask one question and you ask a follow-up question, it doesn't have the ability currently to remember the context from that first question. Definitely something that as AI technology improves, and something that we have already thought of, how do we accomplish that? So not currently, but something that's on the roadmap there.
All right, looks like we just had two more come through. I'm still fairly new to Blackbaud. If I'm looking for info, is it best to start with knowledge base or community, or what do you recommend?
Yeah, so I would recommend, I think it depends really on what you're looking for currently. In the future, knowledge base is going to be the go-to spot because we can index a lot more information. But if you're looking for something of how to accomplish something within the product, I would recommend knowledge base. If you're looking for more of an industry standard or how other people may be doing something within the software, then I would recommend the community. And then that way you can get the feedback directly from other users who are actually using the software, and they may be able to provide some context. So depends right now on what your end goal is, but with that transformation that we're underway, end goal would be knowledge base will be the source from that. And then see another question about, does the virtual assistant learn from the conversation with the agent? Currently, it does not learn from the conversation from the agent. However, the agent should be taking what's in that conversation and adding it into knowledge base, whether that's updating an article or creating new articles and content, which the Gen AI would then learn from that. But currently, it does not learn from the virtual assistant. Or sorry, the virtual assistant does not learn from interactions with the agent. Something that we've thought about, how do we accomplish that in the future, but something that's not currently available. And then one last question about the AI model itself. How often is it updating? It's training off any updated knowledge articles. Right now, it updates every 7 days. We have the ability to control that. So we've been playing with that a little bit of what is the right method to how often it should be updated. But currently, it's every 7 days that model gets updated automatically. Good questions, guys.
Yeah.
Right.
Anybody else before we close out? All right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and launch the survey. If you do have any follow-up questions, please reach out to either support or your customer success manager, and we'll be able to get you an answer. Thank you all so much for attending today. I'm going to go ahead and launch that survey now.
Thank you, guys.